Welcome back to the channel. Today we're 6 miles south of Mangalore. We've departed from Essendon early today, tracked overhead in Melbourne and now tracking direct to Mangalore. We're planning to conduct a VOR 2-3 approach, including a hold with sector entry. We're currently maintaining 6,400, slightly off track, and we want to get down to 4,000 for the hold. We'll do a chart brief just briefly. Let's conduct our chart brief. Today we'll be conducting a VOR runway 23 approach Mangalore, Victoria, validity from 20th November 2023. The AWIS where we can get the weather is on 126.825. Melbourne Centre will get traffic information only is from 122.4. Will be a class Golf for this IFR trip. CTAF, where we can talk to other traffic, is on 121.1. We will be conducting a hold today. There will be right-hand turns, inbound track of 007, outbound track of 187, right-hand turns 1 minute timing, and 3,900 is our minimum altitude. We'll be conducting around about 4,200. Today we'll be doing a direct entry into the hold. So in Australia we have 3 types of holds, one being direct entry where we just proceed direct to our inbound fix, turn onto our outbound leg and then proceed back in. A offset, or also called a teardrop entry, where we do a 30-degree offset from the outbound direction and then we turn back into our inbound leg. And the third type is what we call a parallel entry, where we go over the head DA for 20 seconds, turn onto our outbound track for 1 minute, and then we come back in. The goal of these different entries is just to establish us on a consistent way of getting into these holds, and then once we're in the hold it's all great. So we'll be using the Mangalore VOR, which is on 113.2. No circling to the southeast during IMC. So once we start conducting our approach, we'll be at 3,900 ideally. We'll track outbound for 3 minutes because we're Category A aircraft. Cessnas, Pipers and those sort of aircraft are Category A. Track on a 016 heading. By the turn, after the turn we want to be at 1,800 feet, and then tracking in on a 208 until our MDA. The MDA stands for the minimum descent altitude. It's basically the height at which we must stay above until we're established visually with the ground. We can't go below the MDA until that point. Our MDA today is 1,120. With accurate QNH, it can go down to 1,020. We'll try to make it 1,100 surrounding. Maximum holding is 180 knots, and Category A initial speeds is 140 knots. Neither of those are particularly applicable in our case. On this approach procedures, I'll turn left after we've reached the Mangalore VOR, track 192, climb and maintain 3,900, which also matches up with our 25-mile MSA. If we're tracking somewhere else, for example during training, we could potentially, within the 10 miles, remain at 3,400 and start our track then. Something in the rules that dictates that we can't start our next leg below this approach height. Alright, we're now 1 mile away from the hold. We're keeping our 008 track. We've got the VOR tuned and identified, and it's currently also indicating 008. So now we're just waiting to go overhead the aid, and then we'll make our outbound track of 187. As we approach the aid, we'll start entering into the cone of confusion, which will mean the VOR will not have valid indications. It will swivel around a bit. The other thing is the VOR, as we get closer to the aid, becomes a lot more sensitive. Our CDI will become very sensitive to any changes we make in the aircraft. Often at this stage it's just ideal just to kind of keep your current heading and just go through it. We're waiting for the 2 to the from flag to indicate. That means we can start our turn, start our timer. Our timer can start when our wings are level and we have the to the from indication change again, and that means we're level past the 8 and we can start our timer. I've made a bit of a boo-boo here. I've not pressed the OBS button before the Mangalore waypoint. The OBS button does a couple of things. One, it prevents re-sequencing to the next leg, which is important when we're doing holds, because we don't want to have the GPS going on to the next leg and auto-sequence liaison. In our RNAV approach, an RP approach, this would be probably a test fail, because it's not going to give you out. You got to reset up all the entire sequence again. VOR approach is debatable, but not ideal. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a direct to and then setting up the OBS. The other thing the OBS does is it gives us a CDI indication based on the selected angle to the 8. So it's kind of useful. Just gives us a kind of indication of how close we are to that angle. But when we're doing a VOR approach, it's important that we only rely on the VOR. We are beam the 8 now because the to the from flag has switched, so we can begin our timer. Our wings are also level, and we're tracking on our 187. Alright, 1 minute. Now we'll turn back on an inbound track of 008. We'll be using the VOR CDI. We'll have to make sure that we're keeping a half scale deflection by the time we reach the VOR to be able to conduct our approach. If we don't, then we have to go back and do another. So half scale is as the image on the screen. We're getting pretty close to our 008. We're going to hold the turn a little bit because our CDI hasn't started coming in yet. So we'll hold this heading around about 340 until the CDI starts moving in. And then once it starts moving, then we'll worry about turning back onto our 008. I'm using the 430. The top line of the 6 digits is our current direct track. That's what I'm using to kind of determine what track we're using at the moment. Also, we could use partially our heading indicator. It's not going to be perfect as a wind, but it's not going to be bad. There we're at our scale, almost perfect. dead on the lines. So we're going to start our approach now. We're going to turn slightly to a 016, which is for Class A aircraft, and we'll be tracking outbound for 3 minutes. Let's go one stage of flap out, and that will make us more stable on a descent. Alright, that's our 3 minutes up. Now we want to start making our right hand turn. First we're going to turn the CDI to the right till we're heading off 208. And then we want to be cautious not to go below 1,800 until after the turn is complete and the CDI is within half scale. It's worth noting in all hold and instrument procedures, we'll be doing a rate 1 turn. In this aircraft, we can tell when we're doing a rate 1 turn via the turn coordinator when it's on the second line there. That means we'll be doing 360 degrees in 2 minutes. At this stage, I'm focusing on not going below my MDA, which is 1020. In Australia, we've got a grey box in the category section. That means we can minus 100 feet if we've got extra QNH, which we do in this case. But we're going to make it an even 1100. Also, we're kind of focusing also on our missed approach procedures, just in case we need to go around, in case we can't get visual. So in this case, once we reach our missed approach point, which is the VOR, we'll track 196 and climb 3,900 feet. But I don't think so today because we're pretty visual. Approaching our signed MDA. So we're going to check and see if we can see the runway environment. Yes, we can. We're clear of cloud, that's awesome. We're so worried about that all the time, weren't we? So now we can proceed on as if we were doing a normal approach. We start looking outside instead of using our instruments and start descending to the runway. In this case, the VOR, if we look at the map, was a little bit offsetted. We're expecting to be, so we're going to have to line up a little bit with the 231 way and proceed onwards.